Welcome back, excellent salespeople. Today will be a very interesting podcast. At least for me, it's interesting. I hope it's the same for you. Title, you already saw it, is What is Sales? So, what is actually sales? We will look today. The structure of the podcast will be looking at a few definitions of what is actually sales. We will find it on the net, of course, very easy to find. I will also look at different types of sales. I will present things related to sales like sales methodology, sales process, um, and my own take on all, my own opinion, my own take on all of it. Of course, also in this podcast, I will discuss why would we actually need a sales methodology, what I think is the best sales methodology. Why would we need a sales process? What is actually the difference between the two, a sales process and the sales methodology? Is it the same? Is it different? All of that I will present. I will discuss with you today in this podcast. And I'm inviting you right now to put down in the comments before watching anything else. Pause the video. Put down your definition. What is sales? Right, let's jump on the net. Let's see what we can find. Let me share my screen. Screen two. Here we go. Right. So, the first definition. Let's see what we find of this one. Exchange of a commodity for money. Is that complete? And the action of selling something. That's two different things. What else? A period during which a shop or dealer sells goods. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. So something is in sale, so like special discounts, etc., etc., is not what we are looking for. Um, so what we think of this exchange of commodity for money? This is not correct. It's incomplete because it's not only about commodities and it's not only money. It's you can do selling and purchasing. There's a transaction between the two, the sales and selling and the purchasing. The purchase is a transaction, does not necessarily require money. What else here? What's the best definition of sales? The best definition of sales is exchange of money for goods or services. However, in business, it's defined as a set of activities as a business does to help customers buy their product. This is a bit better. Yes, exchange of money for goods or services, not only commodities, goods and services in whatever price range, not only fast moving commodities, but still here they talk about money. Does bartering not exist anymore, or trading goods for goods? Does that not exist anymore? So of course, just money, this is still not complete. The other part of it, however, why is that however? It's not a contradiction, but okay, in business it is also, I would say, also in business it is defined as a set of activities. Okay, so we're talking about here sales as a set of activities in order to help a customer buy your product or services. This is getting better. What else? Okay, what else? What else? What else? Several terms here. Salesman, selling, sale, da di da di da. Sales are activities related to selling or the number of goods sold in a given targeted time period. Well, like this one. The delivery of service for a cost is also considered a sale. Of course, that's a transaction itself. So we have the transaction and we have a set of activities. That's still correct. A period during which goods are sold for a reduced price is also considered a sale. We already saw that one. The seller, provider of the goods or service, complete a sale in an interaction with the buyer. That's correct. There's an interaction. So before the transaction, there's an interaction normally. which may occur at the point of sale, not necessarily because we do a lot of selling online. What else? Let's see. Okay, that's all fine. Let's art of okay. Although the skills required are different from a management viewpoint, sales is a part of marketing. I disagree. That is true for B2C. So in B2C, there's a holistic marketing approach in which personal point of sale sales is part of the marketing strategy, the four or the five P's. In B2B, that's different. In B2B, marketing is facilitating, enabling sales to be successful. It's just, in fact, it's a small sales process at itself. The function of marketing is, first of all, publicity, and the second is creating leads in B2B. Now that we are here, B2B, B2C, what are you talking about, Remy? Okay, so for those who don't know, B2C means business to consumer. So any business selling to private persons. B2B means, I think you guess it, business to business. That can also include retail. So we have business to business selling services or goods, products, whatever. So for whatever kind of use at a business, or goods or services selling through that business. Maybe that business is adding value, but will be a reseller of that first initial product or service all the way to the end. Maybe another business, or all the way to the end to the consumer. That's what is called wholesale and retail. So in retail, we have wholesalers and resellers, dealers. Is there more? Yeah, so we can also distinguish in the family, in the domain of B2B, apparently we can also distinguish B2R, business to retail, although business to retail is actually part of B2C. What does the American Society for Training and Development has to say? The what's she doing? Sorry. Holistic business system required to effectively develop, manage, enable, and execute a mutually beneficial interpersonal exchange of goods or services for equitable value. Interesting. Is it true? Is it complete? Is it correct? Holistic business system. Not sure if it's always holistic. Is it an approach? Yes. Is it a strategy? Yes. Effectively required, a system required to effectively develop? I would say yes. But before effectively develop, we should acquire. So we are missing acquisition. We're missing acquiring leads in order to develop. Leads we want to develop from contact to contract. So we are missing acquisition, acquire here. So we have develop, manage, enable. I would say enable comes first, develop, enable, or enable, develop, and then manage, and execute a mutually beneficial. Is that true? How many times does a transaction occur between a salesperson or a selling company and a purchaser or a purchasing company or private person consumer where it's not mutually beneficial? It could happen that there's a lose-win situation, meaning that the one selling is losing more than they should or have to. And the one acquiring, the one doing the purchasing is doing all the winning. And that is not so rare because usually we are in competition. Sometimes we give too much discount because for the sake of getting the deal. And we don't know the offers, the proposals, and the quotes of our competition. Could happen that we give too much discount, which means that is actually a lose-win. How many times do you think did it occur in history that there's a, a win-lose situation, a win-lose strategy even before the outcome? So a win-lose strategy and a win-lose outcome. Of course, that happens a lot. You're selling something which doesn't bring the value you thought it would bring. That happens a lot. So is it always mutually beneficial? Hmm, not really. Should it be? If you're smart and go for the long-term success, yes, because you want your customers to return, and retention of existing customers um, does heavily depend on how well you deliver what you promised. So, do you meet those expectations? And therefore, you need, of course, for long-term success, apparently, you need a win-win strategy and a win-win outcome. So, let's go a little bit further. Imagine um, go out on the street in the shopping mall or at family or friends. You're at a party or at a reception. You're on the street or anywhere. Doesn't matter. You ask random people, "What do you think about salespeople?" And we can do a deep dive, not even a deep dive. We can do a dive on the net and just type in Google the image of salespeople and see what comes out. When we are salespeople, I would say 90% of us have um, have good intentions. We try to do our job as good as possible. Of course, we try to sell our own product and services, but we're not really looking for a win-lose outcome. We're looking for a win-win. We genuinely believe that we're doing the right thing, and we try to find the problems at our prospects and suspects, which we try to solve with whatever we have to offer, and hoping or trying to deliver a good outcome and improve the private situation of our consumer private person or the business situation, the business outcome of our B2B customers and prospects. So I believe 89% have good intentions. So, but still, we are sometimes shy or reluctant, and I think that's in Europe even more the case than maybe than in the USA, where people are allowed in the culture more allowed to be proud of doing a sales job. Um, in Europe, salespeople tend to be ashamed to call themselves salespeople. Hence, title inflation, account manager. What is an account manager actually? You have a bank account and somebody's managing that. That's an account manager. What are you actually managing? Are you managing that company? You have a B2B customer, you're managing that company? No, their CEO is managing that company. You're not the account manager, you're a salesperson. And either you do new business or existing business. So, okay, I cannot change this world. I cannot change this title inflation, but we are salespeople and we should not be ashamed of it. Okay, as I was guessing, and we should do research. What's the difference is in the details. So let's jump online. Let's go to click share. Um, Here we go. I just typed in here the reputation of salespeople. I was not biasing it. I didn't type the bad reputation of salespeople, just the reputation of salespeople. Immediately we get here in Reddit the origins of our bad reputation. Quora, okay. Why do salespeople have a bad reputation? What is the stereotype? Greedy, jealous. What do people think of salespeople? Pushy, manipulative, overconfident. That's usually overcompensating, bragging, insecurity, overcompensating by bragging, so not real confidence. Extrovert, yeah, that's true. On the list. Dishonesty, they use tricks, they don't respect the client. because of use and throw policy. Okay, that can happen. Most of the salespeople lie, don't come on time, don't follow up after the sales closed. They think the public are fools. Okay. What did Cora say? The real issue is that an aggressive salesperson will sell much more than a passive salesperson. Okay, there's different things between. There's a whole scale, a whole graduation between passive and aggressive. There's also proactive and alert. There's also initiative. Passive is literally do nothing and waiting for prospects and suspects to call us, can I please buy your product and service? That does not exist in this world, unfortunately. So you have to be proactive and you have to show initiative. Doesn't necessarily mean you're aggressive. Aggressive salespeople will indeed sell more at the beginning in the short run. It's a win-lose strategy. If you want to keep your customers, if you want to retain them, if customer retention is important for you, lying and manipulations and using tricks, all of that will just blow up in your face. It will fire back at you. So clearly, we understood, especially the more professional a company and the more professional a salesperson, the more they will understand that the win lose strategy will not work in the long run. That for long term success, you will need a win win strategy. So we will jump to the next part of the podcast. We will look at sales methodologies and sales processes or the sales process. And of course, before understanding what actually is a sales process and what actually is a sales methodology, we need to understand what is a process and what is a methodology. So we will start there, then jump to sales methodology and sales process. We will also see what's the difference between the two. Is there a difference? What is that difference? Is there more confusion? I will try to debunk all that confusion. Let's go. So let's jump on screen 2. So what we have here, Cambridge Dictionary, a series of actions or events performed, so that's actively, to make something or achieve a particular result. Actions in order to get a particular result, an outcome, or a series of changes that happen naturally. I like to define process as input, throughput with several stages, steps, actions, output. What else? What does Wiki say? A process is a series or set. What is the difference between a series or set of activities that interact to produce a result? It may occur once only, true, or be recurrent or periodic, true, but also actively and passively. What else do we have? A continuing natural or biological activity or functions, life processes, breathing, yeah, that's also a process. The growing of plants, trees, it's a process. All of that is a process. The last one, the concept of a process hierarchical, which means that consists of particularly ordered. True, but that's not the definition. Okay, I think that's enough. I think we get it. So we have an input, a starting point, we have throughput, a process, the stages or the phases in the process, and we have output and outcome. I think we have it now. Let's see what is methodology. Methodology, not to be confused with Methodism. Methodism. Thank you for that. I was not confusing that, but okay. In its most common sense, methodology is the study of research methods. Methodology is studying methods. What is a method? Well, here we have it. A particular procedure for accomplishing or approaching something. especially a systematic or established one. Okay, an established method or system in order to approach or to achieve something, accomplishing, achieving, or approaching something interesting. What else? A procedure or process for attaining an object. Sorry. Okay, a systematic plan followed in presenting material, a way, a technique or process for doing something, a body of skills of techniques. So let's try to simplify this. Process, input, steps, stages, actions, activities, output was the process. A method is the plan, could be the process, could all be a set of skills, could be a technique, could be a procedure, could be achieving something, could be approaching something. I would say that the method is the how and the process is the what. Of course, there's the why before that. What is the why of having a process, having a methodology? Let's first have a better understanding of process of methodology and then check that how. You already see it here actually. So the what, the how, and the why. I love Simon Sinek for this insight that he helped us with that. Think about the why, the what, and the how. So methodology is researching, studying methods. What does it mean for our domain, the sales domain? That means that sales methodology would be studying sales methods. If we define one sales method as a methodology, it's actually incorrect. If we say consultative selling is a sales methodology, it's not correct. It's a sales method. The methodology would be what we would do in this podcast, studying several separate sales methods. I didn't realize that. So why do we need a sales process and why do we need a sales methodology? Method. Why a sales process? Sales process helps us to be efficient. What is efficiency? Efficiency is doing the right thing at the right time with the least amount of energy. What? The right thing at the right time with the least amount of effort slash energy slash cost. That's efficiency. So a sales process helps you guide yourself through the buying journey, the customer purchasing process, as efficient as possible. So qualification is part of the sales process. And we will look at a few famous sales methodologies, which are not methodologies but methods, and in some cases not even methods, but qualification, and qualification is just part of the sales process. Why do we need a sales methodology? So if we understand that the process is the what are we doing, the what are we doing to get through that process, the methodology is trying to be as effective as possible. Hence we have here efficiency and effectiveness. Here and there I saw the word sales model. I also like the idea of having a sales model, and all those terms and terminologies are mixed and blended and confused, etc. Sometimes I see a sales method and then it's called a sales model, or sometimes I see a sales process and it's called a methodology. It's a different thing. So what is a model, a sales model? Is that a plan? Is that a method, a methodology, a process? No. A model is a three-dimensional representation of a person or thing or a proposed structure, typically on a smaller scale than the original. So if I have a graphic representation of an idea or a structure or a process or a methodology, and I represent that in a 3D graphic like this, that's a model. So here, product of mindset, efficiency, and effectiveness resulting in success. The graphic representation of this three circles here, that's a model. So let's see what we can find about sales processes and um, and sales structures and models and methodologies and methods. So the first thing which I found on the net when typing in Google sales methodologies, which should be sales methods, was this one, HubSpot. I think we know HubSpot, right? It's in fact a combination of CRM and the sales process. 12 best sales methodologies and customer-centric selling systems. What was again the difference between a system and a methodology? And does this mean that all those 12 best sales methodologies, will we check if it's actually methodologies, methods, and if they're really best? But does this mean, does this title imply, dear Harshit, that those sales methodologies are not customer centric? Is being customer centric in your system, your approach, your plan, your methodology, your process, whatever, a rule breaker? Is that a paradigm shift? Are we doing sales for hundreds and hundreds of years and having developed like countless dozens types of sales methodologies, methods through the last 60, 65, 70 years when we started to formalize sales methodologies? Were all those sales methodologies not customer centric? Is that what you're saying? Okay, let's scroll down. When I first started as a SaaS sales agent, rep, okay, a rep, but okay, at least you're not calling it account manager, so that's cool. Little did I know that there was much more than just creating a sales strategy. As I delved deeper, let's see if you actually delved deeper. I discovered SaaS leaders use certain sales methodologies. Of course, that's true, to train and scale the teams. Good. What is a sales methodology? That actually is a sales method, right? A sales methodology is a framework or set of principles, so that's a philosophy, that guide your sales reps, not agent, okay, to close clients, no, to close deals. We don't call clients because we want that clients to exist. We don't want them to shut down their company. To close the deal, it takes goals and turns them into actionable steps for your reps to complete during each stage of the sales process. So the sales methodology is a framework or set of principles that guides us salespeople through the sales process. Taking the actionable steps. What's the difference between an activity and an actionable steps? To complete those steps during each stage of the sales cycle. Do I agree with that? A framework or set of principles. I'm missing something. What am I missing? Yes, I'm missing skills. It's not just actionable steps, activities. It's not just a set of principles, the idea, the philosophy. It's not just a framework. That's already the sales process. It's also skills. Skills belong to effectiveness family, belongs to sales methodology. Naturally, of course, a certain, it's not only skills by the way, but a certain methodology, or better method, requires a certain approach, a certain structure, and depending on the type of business, type of product, type of services, it also requires a specific set of skills. All of that is missing in this definition. So I understood, Harshit, that you uploaded this published in 2014 and you updated in 2024. I'm curious, what was the difference between your first and your second? And I'm hoping it doesn't take you again 10 years. Sorry to be so critical, but do your homework. Oh, an inbound sales methodology. Strangers, we call them suspects. Identify them, that's a correct step, and then hopefully they will become lead. That's not just a matter of identifying, it's a matter of qualification. Do we see potential? So we have a family, a database of suspects. Suspecting them, they could become leads, sales qualified leads. That's why it's called a suspect. We don't know it yet, we suspect it. So what we will do, we will contact and qualify, or we already qualify even before the contact, find out if they could become, do they match the profile to become a prospect. Why is a prospect called prospect? Because we see prospects there. That means that in order to grow from suspect to lead to prospect, we need to know the potential value. That's one of the qualification criteria you will need to find out before or during discovery. Connect, agree. So we connect with the leads and then we qualify them, agree. Explore, yeah, that's a nice word. Discover, explore, okay, and then we see that there's an opportunity. Then it is a prospect. So when it's an opportunity and we have the potential value in the picture, that is a prospect. And of course, we advise and then we create customers out of them. And of course, on the customer side, there's awareness, consideration, and decision. Very, very simplified customer journey, but okay. So, inbound sales methodology. Harshit, this is not a methodology. This is a sales process. There's nothing methodology. There's nothing method about this. The method is how would you do? How would you perform? How would you identify? How would you connect? How would you explore? In your own words, what set of principles, what set of framework, and in my words, what set of skills do you execute during that process? That's a methodology, or better, a method. Unlike a sales process, a sales model, oh God, usually doesn't. Oh gee, people. There's so much wrong here. Unlike a sales process, a sales model usually doesn't apply to the entire sales cycle. What are you saying? Man. Unlike a sales process, a sales model usually doesn't apply to the entire sales cycle. Forget this one. There's like 3, 4 things wrong in this, only already in this one sentence. The sales process and the sales cycle is the same thing. That's the first one. A sales process and the sales cycle is the same thing. We don't want to call it a sales cycle because we don't return to the beginning point. We have a beginning point, suspect, lead, qualified lead, connecting, contact, and we work through stages in the sales process with a sales methodology to get the contract, to get the deal. all of that is a sales process and all of that is a sales cycle, but the sales cycle is an incorrect term because we don't return to the beginning point, we end at an end point. Therefore, I advise don't use the word sales cycle, use the word sales process, but it's the same thing. Sales model was the 3D graphic representation. So sales model is not a process, it's how you would visualize a process. So here we have a sales process and this picture, that's the model. Let's go on. 12. So I will shortly show with you here the ones well known and what that Harshit is telling us about them. Spin and Challenger and Medic and Solution, inbound, outbound. If there's an inbound selling methodology, there should also be an outbound sales methodology. And is that actually different? Yeah, only in the first stage. Target account selling. Okay. Let's go back. Medic is not a sales process. It's also certainly not a sales methodology. It's a qualification system. A qualification. It's a checklist. The same goes for target account selling. It's not a sales process. It's not a methodology. It's a checklist. It's qualification. We will also look at command of the sale, and my favorites, a few of my 3 favorites are in this list. I will not disclose that yet, but later I will show you which are my favorites and why, and also in which type of market they work well. Spin selling. Spin selling is from the book of Neil Rackham. It's the first system or methodology how to work through the sales process, how to perform consultative selling. And at the start in the 80s, last century, of spin selling and consultative selling were used through each other. They were the evolution of a sales method before that, PSS, professional selling skills. So before spin we had PSS, and PSS was professional selling skills, was a set of skills, a method created by Rank Xerox. Then came spin after that as an upgrade towards PSS. Spin and consultative selling were used through each other. Later, consultative selling became sort of a family of different sales methods like spin. Situational questions, problem questions, implication questions, need payoff questions. We should realize that these are certain like layers in your discovery process. You start at the situation, then the next layer you try to find problems. You find the implication of those problems, and you will find hopefully the even deeper layer, the need payoff layer. So here we have the layers. Spin. What else does Harshit say? System. Is it a system? Or is the methodology or method? Spin selling. It's not just selling, right? It's more discovering. Need, I'm going to skip. Conceptual. Hardly come across. Snap. Hardly come across. Challenger sale. That is great. So here we have it. Challenger sale. Read it. Challenger sale. The book consists of 2 things. And I have, if you go to my other podcast, the one about the example of a sales team, I analyzed the sales team. It's an existing sales team. I trained and coached them. We had a guy doing 50% target OTP. There was the team on average 110, which is great. And we had one guy, John, who was doing, and it's not his real name, of course, 450%. And not only 1 year, and not just because of luck or his area was better, he was doing things very, very different. And he did that 450% between 400 and 500% through a period of 5 years. If you want to find out what he did and how, check that podcast as well. What I can say is that he was executing, deploying, implementing, applying Challenger Sale into perfection. What do we have here? A teach, tailor, take control process. What John did was really excellent qualification of the DMU and gathering, collecting, engaging that complete DMU as early as possible in the sales process during the discovery. What he also did different, he had a longer and deeper discovery than anybody else in the whole company. He was doing as wide and deep discovery as possible. That's not what Challenger Sale here is saying. After he did that perfect wide and deep discovery, he started to teach, tailor, and take control. The 3T of Challenger Sale. What else? Apparently, according to Challenger Sale, there are like practically every B2B salesperson, yes, indeed, we talk about B2B here, fits into one of 5 personas: relationship builders, hard workers, lone wolves, reactive problem solvers, so not proactive apparently, and challengers. And according to their research, the challengers are the most successful. And why is there sort of, the book is written in 2011, why was there sort of a raise in challengers, and why does the new market situation require challengers? Is because that a big part of the customer orientation process is being done before any contact. People search like crazy on internet and inform themselves as well in B2C, by the way, as in B2B, way more, much more than before internet existed. Salespersons were used to get informed. Now they get informed before any contact with any salesperson. That means that as a challenger, many times you just don't follow, not just follow that orientation which has presented to you as a set of requirements. That what the challenger does different is he's challenging the assumptions. What else? Sandler, we see that a lot in the US. I cannot discuss it because I don't have any knowledge. We hardly find it in Europe. Medic, of course. Medic. Almost any vacancy for a salespeople or a sales manager or a sales enablement manager or sales trainer, etc., requires knowledge of Medic. So Medic during the 19th, okay, Jack Napoli and Dick Dunkel, okay, it's a framework. To find the answers, ask yourself and your prospect, what's the economic impact of the situation? A need payoff of spin. The outcome of outcome-based selling. The value in value-based selling. Nothing new here. Economic buyer, who controls the appropriate budget. That's not always the decision maker. This is not complete. You should always identify the complete DMU and the roles in the DMU, not just economic buyer. Decision criteria, that's a good one. What are formal evaluation criteria for organization using to pick a vendor? True, that's important, but not enough, because there are implicit criteria. And to be honest, most decisions are based on belly, emotion. What the brain does, the rational part of the brain does, is justifying the emotional belly choice. That's how psychology works. That's how our brain works. So even if you ask for rational, explicit decision criteria, that's good and you should match them. It's not enough because at the end of the day, that decision is based on belly. And if we don't match that belly decision, that belly feeling, we will be in that rational part decision criteria matching those criteria, but not be chosen. And the brain will justify why we not will be chosen, and the belly feeling, the brain will be justified, will be used to justify that feeling to choose somebody else. Decision process, of course, that's part of qualification. Identify the pain, that's part of discovery. Of course, what is the problem? Is this different than spin? SPIN. Champion. Who is selling on your behalf? This is dangerous. In that other podcast, what went wrong with the guy with 50% and what went super good with the guy on 450% is that John was identifying and engaging the whole DMU in the early stages of the sales process, where Pete, the one on 50%, was only working his champion. He was creating, it's called, we create an ambassador. The ambassador is usually not the decision maker, is usually an internal expert. And Pete and the internal experts, the champion, became friends, and he provided the champion with all those fantastic arguments how the champion it could sell it upwards internally. And that was less successful than selling it yourself to the DMU, because you make yourself dependent on your champion. Medic. Do we have more medic here? Command of the sale. Here's medic. Difference between medic. Okay, metrics, economic buyer, decision criteria, decision process. We okay. Identify pain champion. Not enough. Med big. What is med big? Advanced sales methodology. There we go again. It's not a methodology. It's a set of qualification criteria. La da 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 da. Decision process. Paper process. Oh, there we have it. That's the P. Paper process. Okay, great. Champion and competition. Oh, we forgot that one. We forgot paperwork and competition. Okay, it's a set of qualification items. It's a set of checks. It's not a methodology. It's not a method. It's not a sales process. It's good to have it. It's not enough. We have more here. 17, oh god, best sales methodologies, methods. Let's see, table of contents. Anything new here? Challenger sale, conceptual, consultative, customer-centric. All of them should be customer-centric. Inbound, medic, need, snap, solution, spin, center, value, selling framework, gap, target account, command of the sale. Okay, not so much new. What I will just discuss with you two, which were not yet on the other list. Command of the sale. When you go through vacancies on LinkedIn, you see indeed a lot of medic and medpic. Let's remember for eternity, it's not a sales methodology, it's not a sales process, it's just a set of incomplete but very necessary qualification checks. Same goes for medpic. And the other one you find in advertisements all the time, not all the time, but many times, especially at American companies, command of the sale, command of the message and command of the sale. What is that? Command of the sale and command of the message are sales methodologies created by force management. I don't like the word force management, to help sales organizations better qualify their pipeline. That's always a good thing. Focus on the right opportunities. That should be the outcome of good qualification. So yes, of course, identify customer pain points. Nothing new here since Neil Rackham came with Spin in the 80s already, and guide them through the decision process smoothly. I'm curious how command of the message, is actually methodology and how you would guide your prospects smoothly. Anything else? Okay, we have here a sales funnel, which is a sales process. Once you have identified qualified lead, command and steps into guide your conversation steps process, ensuring you articulate your value proposition effectively and address the unique needs. So if I would apply Spin and I would use Spin as consultative selling method in my discovery, and then the next stage, in a solution presenting stage, I would use the same 4 layers. I would address how my solution would impact the 4 layers. How is that different? It's not different. Value-based selling. What is value-based selling? Empower your team with the right processes and skills. Processes, efficiency, skills, effectiveness to drive performance at scale. Well, that sounds good. Value-based selling is the act of prioritizing the customer needs over those of the come on, really? Is that your insight? Is that your paradigm shifting way of, oh, we're gonna do everything so different because until now we have never been customer centric and we have always prioritized our own needs over that of our customer. Yeah, okay, in the win-lose, yes, it happens, of course, but this is nothing new. The act of prioritizing the customer needs over those of the sales professional. I'm sorry to be so critical, but come on. That is a value-based approach to selling refrains from the practice of pushing a solution. Of course. Of course, we're not pushing a solution. We try to achieve value by offering a solution and by offering and creating and matching a solution. We should do what? Yes, analyze problems. And how is that called? Consultative selling. So, old wine in new bottles. A lot of myth debunking. What is qualification? Qualification is going through a checklist. Did I miss anything? What should I know? What is the process? Input, throughput, stages, output. Sales cycle, same thing. Don't call it sales cycle because we don't want to end at the beginning. We have a certain outcome in mind. Sales methodology, wrong term. Should be called sales method. Whatever, it's okay. But that's framework, principles, sales process also, but it's mainly the how we work through the sales process, which requires a philosophy, an approach, a set of skills. And the model is just a 3D representation. The end of part one. So my intention was to make my podcast shorter and still editing and cutting a lot. I'm still noticing I repeat myself. So what I will do, and once you see this online, they are already there. I will make chapters, timestamps, so you can skip to that part which interests you. This was part one. We have discussed several things. What is sales? What is the reputation of salespeople? How about that reputation? Why is it happening? What is a process? What is a methodology? What is a method? What is a model? What does that mean for sales, process, methodology, method, model? And we have checked and quite critically discussed like what HubSpot thought were the 12 best sales methods, and also one called customer-centric uh, approach, which implied that all the other ones were not customer-centric. In part two, I will give you an insight in my own idea about this. I will present to you my 4 favorite methodologies, why this is a favorite for me. I will also present a template for sales process. I will also discuss a little bit further about qualification, and I will start with that one. I will also show you sort of the evolution of sales methodologies starting the beginning of last century. So I hope to see you in the next podcast, part two, about what is sales, which actually can be answered in one sentence. I will actually answer that question, what is sales, in one sentence at the end of part two. See you there. Bella ciao.